Hey, we are back for another live recording session of the Vet S.O.S show. Welcome to the Vet S.O.S show, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S Life Preserver. I am here with Mark Elder. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great. Welcome everyone to our next episode and live Vet S.O.S show. We're super excited to bring the resources to you, and I'm super excited to hear from more about Sean too, because this first episode, I know we've got some updates for you. So
everybody wants to learn about me, Mark. Everybody.
That is right.
So we do have a great show today. We got some awesome guests. They're going to be dropping some true knowledge bombs on us. We got Dr. Vincent Soto coming in. We got Alfredo Torres coming in and Jane Babcock coming in today. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be some great information, especially looking at the job search process, the VA process, a bunch of these things that we go through as veterans. There's just going to be some amazing information today. I'm so excited to hear what these guests have to say today, Mark.
Yeah, me too. And we've already had just a stellar lineup from our last batch of shows. And so, if you haven't caught those, make sure that you check out and ring that bell on our YouTube Vet SOS show page and our playlist there, so you can make sure that you're getting the updates and you're getting the notifications on live. You can catch our former guests there and our former episodes.
Absolutely. So we're going through Restream. You can pair your channels with us. You can broadcast this live over your channels as well. If you have any questions on how to do that, just put hashtag pairing in the comments and we'll get you directions on how to do that. Great medium through Restream. Amazing that you can push it out to all these different channels at the same time. Technology's come so far, and I'm really just a dinosaur there, Mark.
Yes, well, we all know Trevor Houston from the Who You Know show and network, and he is our millennial. So I've relied on him to get me through a lot of that learning curve. So let's give a couple shout outs. I see a couple people in. Sharon Tate, good morning to you. Dion Myers, good morning to you. Again, if you are just joining us, Sean had mentioned this, but don't forget, for future episodes, you can pair your channels. So if you'd like to learn how to stream that show as a piece of original content to your channel in your social media network, put hashtag pairing and we'll DM you and make sure that we get that so you can push this feed out to your network as well. Thank you for your support and thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dion supporting us two times in a row. He's great dude out there helping other people succeed as well, which is just outstanding. He's in that military transition roundtable with me. So we've had some great conversations. So real good stuff right there. And Sharon's already posting. She wants to know how to do this Restream thing. We're going to have to shoot her a DM for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
Pushing it out. This is great. So today we're going to talk about the current labor market, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about what's going on. I mean, we are in a transition of ourselves, right? In the perhaps economy, in the labor market, a lot of things going on domestically in, not even speaking internationally, but some of those things are going to impact us, right? As you get ready to transition out of the service and into the civilian sector, or if you're a veteran, a military family member, and you're also transitioning, the labor market certainly is changing. It always is.
Yep.
But we've come out of an unprecedented time, pandemic, and it has really evolved the landscape of how people are mentally preparing themselves, psychologically, what they're open to as far as the work environment that they want, and how they're going to work and how they're going to engage at the company. So what are you seeing, Sean, as far as maybe coming out of that great resignation and how some of the job seekers and I know you're getting ready to transition too, how you're seeing the application interview process, all of those things change?
So for the military people, the transitioning service members, there are definitely that fear, that unknown. Some people go directly into what they want to do. Maybe they're staying in the career field they were in the military, so it's a little bit easier transition. But then you got people like me who, I'm ready to move on to a different career, try something new. So as you go through that, you have to sort of work that whole process. So I think there's people that are scared or at least nervous with the looming recession, and can you find a job in this type of economy? And we know we got the Great Resignation going on. As I go to a lot of these networking events, you hear a lot of people only asking about the hybrid model or the working from home model. Right now, that's an option. I don't know where we're going to be in a couple years. I don't know if you're going to, because you're seeing some of the major companies already say, hey, we want you to come back to the office. We got this nice, shiny, big building that's empty. You need to come in here so we can keep paying the bills. Exactly. So, where we go from there, I don't know. But like what I'm seeing right now, I'm really enjoying the process. I have really focused on targeted networking, using the tools like LinkedIn, where you hone in on a specific career field, a specific location. And I do my searches that way. And I find people in that field, in the area I want to live, and I start networking with them that way. And it's been amazing. I would say not results, because I'm not technically job searching yet. I still have a couple months, but just the way they've reached out and they've helped me. And I have a couple people shopping my resume around already. Even I'm still 9 months out. So who knows? Maybe by the time I get to that point, I'm already well lubed into a job and don't have to worry about it. But I think the targeting network piece is the one, and you really got to go after it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we're seeing more and more where in our network, for you viewers, we have just an extensive, enormous network, right? In the career transition space, not ours, but in the career transition space, right? Ours is pretty good, but not that big as the whole entire career transition space, right? So when you think about that, we see a lot of trends. We talk to a lot of people that are in the search, and they're going through their transition, whether it's military, from the military or not. We had pre-pandemic, we had people that were coming through our summit. We were helping teach people how to differentiate themselves and get themselves out of the black hole, right, of the applicant tracking systems. And that was the former issue, right, of having so much volume of job seekers in it, overloading the applicant tracking systems, overloading companies who were hiring. And so people were getting ghosted, and that's why we started calling the applicant tracking system the black hole, right? So there's been a paradigm shift. And right now what we're seeing is job seekers in the networking space, right? The Who You Know network, the career transition networks, they're disengaging. And we've looked into why. Why is this happening? Why are people not, maybe stepping out to get additional resources that are available, free resources, right, that are available? Number one is, awareness, right? And that's by design what this show is about, to bring awareness to the veteran service organizations and the career transition resources that are available. But also tied in with that, because we saw people disengage, we started asking people, well, what's going on? And engagement, right? The evolution of the job search, engagement is not necessarily as big an issue. People are getting interviews, they're getting traction, they're not going into that black hole anymore. And so, and you may experience that, right? In your new search, you're getting interviews. But we've kind of shifted back to the other problem, which is the tactical and strategic side, making sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized, that it matches with your resume, that your resume is optimized, that your networking is on point, right? And that your message and your story is also crafted to the fullest extent. So, in other words, people aren't having as much trouble getting their foot in the door right now. They're having trouble closing the deal, right? And I think that is part of the problem that we're seeing right now. So you guys tell us in the comments, is that your pain point right now? Are you getting traction, or are you having more trouble closing the deal at this point?
So we got Dan Roth has been chatting in here in the comments. I've been following him for a long time on LinkedIn. Does great things to push information out to people, to the industry, to help people find jobs and everything. Doing real good stuff there. And he'd put in there that the ATS system doesn't necessarily ghost, but bad recruiters do. And I see a lot of people talking about recruiters on LinkedIn, and that's sort of an unknown field to me, because the last 20 years I haven't had to deal with recruiters. Last time I dealt with a recruiter, I wound up signing a contract that took the next 20 years of my life. So
that's a great point.
There's definitely, things out there. So you have, the recruiting piece. You have the ATS system, which seems to, I don't want to say baffle people, but I think the ATS system is still kind of an unknown to a lot of people. Some people really understand it, I think. And then people like myself really have no idea. I'm still used to 20 years ago when I was, doing jobs and looking for things. I went and shook somebody's hand and I got an interview, not necessarily the way you do it anymore. So, that whole process is going to be interesting. But I think you had some great points on, you have to have your LinkedIn on point. You have to have your resume on point. I know there's a lot of debate out there about cover letters, whether they're of value, not of value. Some people still require them. For the transitioning service members, though, like right now, I'm going through the Hiring Our Heroes Skill Bridge program. So working that process, the resumes were released last week. So now we're starting to get contacted from companies, and a lot of them are wanting an updated resume from the last one we submitted already. So that's a whole new thing for me, trying to, okay, now I got to tailor my resume for this very specific fellowship internship. But that's where I think veterans really have to take advantage of that CSP Skill Bridge opportunity, because you potentially could line yourself up for a job right out of the military. If you go in there and you apply the skills you have, your work ethic, you really, put on you go into work and you do your job, they're going to hire you. So I think there's a big opportunity, and I think a lot of people still miss doing that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just like when people are graduating college, right? When you're graduating college, who wouldn't want to have that offer in hand, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the same thing, if you're transitioning out of the service, I mean, absolutely, you want to have that offer in hand, but, now's the time to start. So if you are currently still active duty, but you're short time, right? Make sure that you are plugging into all of the resources that are available. And I think that, that's by design, one of the things that we can help with, one of the things that the network can help with. So part of our training and part of the walking folks through that transition process or job search process is the network and leveraging that, right? Yep. And how to conduct those conversations and make sure that you're effective and not just having nice chats, right? And so I want to kind of pivot to that, because tactically, when we're networking, we're talking with as many people as possible, right? And hopefully it's targeted. But the other side of it is, how many conversations have you had in a networking meeting, right? Where you've had a great conversation, but there weren't necessarily any action items, right? You didn't close or leave with any action items or any actionable content. So there's the pitfall there too, is that a lot of people, they think that networking is just meeting people, right? And having conversations, but it's more than that. Networking at the premise is about fostering relationships for business. That's, pretty much the definition in Webster, right? So, and primarily for business. So, one of the things that you really want to keep in mind as you're starting your job search, or if you're in your job search, is as you're networking, you have to have your ask. And that's one of the biggest pieces of the networking side is, if you've got your other strategic components and assets in place, your resume, your LinkedIn, et cetera, now is the time to start boning up on your networking. Because I don't know about you, Sean, how much networking are you doing in service?
So I'm doing a ton of it. And honestly, I started at 18 years, really starting to get into LinkedIn. And a lot of people will tell you even that last 2 years isn't enough time. You know, I would encourage service members to get on LinkedIn immediately and start networking. What's interesting, like when I do probably 3 major events on a regular basis. One is any 50 strong events I can make. They're virtual networking events, the Vets to Industry networking events. In fact, there's one this afternoon as well. And then the Who You Know show, trying to get into either the summit or just watching the weekly show and networking with people that are in the comments. So those 3 are probably the 3 major ones that I participate in. And I'm in an interesting, or I wouldn't say unique, but an interesting position where I don't necessarily have an ask. My big ask is just information. I really just want to know more about what you do. So if I'm connecting with somebody, it's about what they do. Is it something that maybe I want to pursue, or am I checking that off the list? Nope, I don't need to worry about that one. But hey, I got a great contact out of it. So it starts with, like, when you do these virtual events, you're looking at, hundreds of people in a room, right? So I start reaching out to people, and the key is you have to follow up. I still get requests from people with no personalized message. I never hear back from them again. They're just sitting there in my contacts. I don't know anything about them. I may try to reach out to them. I may or may not ever get a response. So I have a bunch of people like that in my connections that are just sort of there, and eventually will probably get weeded out if I ever get to that point where I got to par down people because I hit 30,000, which I don't ever foresee happening, but who knows? So I think that's the key, though, is 1, you target your networking. 2, you reach out and you start that conversation. I've had some great conversations that have led to amazing relationships from people I've never met. But you can still develop a deep relationship over social media just by talking and having that conversation. Sometimes it leads to a Zoom meeting or face to face if you're lucky to be in the same area. But sometimes they could be overseas. They could be somewhere halfway around the world. You may never see them, but you have to follow up. So if you're doing these Vets to Industry or 50 strong, don't just send out the blanket requests and never follow up. You gotta reach out and meet these people.
Oh yeah, man. You got a couple big bombs dropped in that one, right? And what we're seeing is, here's the key. How do you spell success, right? I used to ask this question, how do you spell success? And people would look at me like, huh? And then I would say FOLLOWUP, right? Follow up, right?
Absolutely.
That's how you spell success. So, that's number 1. That's key. Yeah, absolutely. You got to have follow up in order to be successful, right? Especially if you haven't closed the deal in that prior meeting, right? So that's where the follow up. And the other thing is, this kills me. I ask job seekers all the time, okay, how'd your interview go? Oh, it went pretty good. Yeah, we had a great rapport, good questions. I was able to answer them all. All right. Did you send a thank you email? Did you send a thank you? Huh? Right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I get, huh? And I'm like, you gotta follow up, right? You gotta follow up. When was your interview? 2 days ago? Okay, send an email right now. Yep. And follow up, right?
So I'm actually looking forward to this part. So the resumes just got released for the Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship. In the next 2 weeks or so, I should start doing interviews. So this is going to be my first opportunity to use BombBomb to send those video thank yous, that you guys talk about in the summit. So I'm excited about that piece because I don't know how many people out there are actually trying to do it that are transitioning from the military. So I'm hoping that that they're like, oh, look at this guy.
So tell us about BombBomb, right? Tell the audience about BombBomb, what it is, and how it might be able to help them.
Okay, so BombBomb is a video recording program online. It's a website. You go in there, you through the Who You Know network, you can get, I think it's 14 days free.
Yes, yeah, there's a free trial.
Yep. So if you go through the Who You Know network, you can get the 14-day trial and record a bunch of videos and send them off. But if you're going to do that, do it with intention and be prepared to record, as many videos as you can and get them out in that trial period. You can pay for it, and then you have a annual subscription, and it's very simple to use. You go on there, you click record, and you record. It's really that simple. And then you can use any number of websites to edit your videos and go through and add captions and whatever you want to do to it. So through the summit, you guys talked about doing these follow-up thank yous or just job search videos in general and posting them to places like LinkedIn. And BombBomb is the medium that you guys talk about. So, I started looking at this, started playing with it. Super easy to use. And trust me, if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out when it comes to technology. So really easy. But you get on there, you record your videos, quick 15, 20-second video as a thank you, and you can email it directly. It has options where you can post directly to LinkedIn, or you can send it straight as a message. So even like with connecting, sometimes I'll record a video to somebody and send it as the thank you for the connection. And the response you get is amazing because a lot of people still don't see that. And you guys have been doing the summit for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah. Several years, about 3-4 years.
Yeah. So thousands of people know about this, and there's still tons of people that have never seen this before. So I think it's a great avenue to make you stand out. You send a video, people are like, "Whoa, look, what's this guy doing?"
Oh yeah, for sure. So in the ticker below is actually the link to BombBomb. So yes, you can sign up for a free trial. Here's the rub, right? So you've just interviewed, and maybe you're one of 5, maybe you're one of 10, right? Candidates that they've actually called in to interview, how many ever that is. How do you differentiate yourself aside from in that interview? What do you do afterwards? What can you do afterwards, right? To make sure that you're the squeaky wheel that gets that grease.
Absolutely.
Right? One of the things that people do is they will send a thank you email. But when you get an email, and it's a thank you email, typically it's just black and white text, maybe a couple lines. Maybe you wrote a book, right? Which would be totally also inappropriate. You don't want to do that in an email. How about leveraging what they already know, which is if they've liked you, they've seen you, they've interacted with you, they've engaged, and it's also an opportunity to show that you're a person, right? Rehumanize the job search. And so using this tool, and there's a lot of other video tools that are available that are out there that you can use, but BombBomb makes it very easy. I would say send a thank you video. Number one, here's the key, right? Put their name on the screen, and that's one of the biggest issues. Is that right? Like you can use a little whiteboard or speech bubble like this. Put their name on the screen. When they get that email, they're going to get a visual with their name on it, so they know that is made just for them, that this video is made just for them. So that's the catalyst that gets them to click on that video and actually watch it, right? And now you're able to convey what you wanted to convey. You could actually use it to maybe answer a question that you didn't answer so well, right? During the interview, there's a lot of things that you can do in that, and it totally will set you apart, right? It might not land you the job, but it totally will set you apart for sure.
Yeah, and that's really what you're up against, in my opinion. I mean, granted, I haven't had to look for a job in 20 years, so my experience with job searching is limited. But to me, it makes sense. You stand out and make people want to contact you, and they send your video around. So now half the company knows who you are because it's easily to send through, text or email. I mean, it to me seems like a win-win, unless you're like me and you got a face for radio.
Yeah, you and I both. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode. Share your thoughts in the chat in the comments, right? We want to hear from you. We want to hear how your search is going. We want to know what is going on in your transition, how we can support you, and make sure that you are staying positive in both your activity and your attitude, right? Those are the two things that you can control. Make sure that you're worrying about what you can control and not worrying about the things that you can't, right? So keep your attitude and your activity positive. Good things will happen. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. In our next episode, we have Dr. Vincent Soto. So we will be back shortly. Don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the vet S.O.S. life preserver.
Absolutely.
Be a resource.
Hey, we are back.
Yes. Thank you for joining in. Welcome to the Vet SOS show, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab your Vet SOS life preserver.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm so excited about this next guest, Mark. Dr. Vincent Soto. Amazing stuff. We ready to bring him in?
Yes. Let's bring Dr. Soto in. And we have Dr. Vincent Soto.
Hey.
Dr. Soto, thank you for joining us. Let's introduce Dr. Soto. Dr. Soto was born and raised.
Connection.
Okay, yeah, we got a little bit of a connection issue, but let me give you an introduction to Dr. Soto here. He is born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, before serving in the Navy for 26 years. Thank you for your service. Now in Palmetto, Florida, he serves as a career workforce strategic and master facilitator for the Department of Labor Transition Assistance Program. So the DOL TAP, the founder and president also of Navigating Solutions. It's a nonprofit organized engaged in providing opportunities for career-minded professionals in the global workforce area. He's passionate for education and training, and he thrives as a master training specialist. So, so much more to this. I want to jump in, though, for the sake of time, with Dr. Soto and hear more about what he is doing there with career workforce strategic and master facilitator, and also with his organization. So, Dr. Soto, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Soto,
Thank
can
you
you hear
for
us?
having me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I can hear you. That's really bad, but yeah, I can hear you if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. The video is a little grainy, but we can definitely hear you. So I've been connected with Dr. Soto for a little while and sort of followed what he did, but I had never really had a conversation with him until I saw him last month at the Vets to Industry networking event, where he came on and did basically the keynote speech for the event, and came on there, and the things you were talking about, Dr. Soto, were just amazing. I would love to know the passion, like where does the passion for this type of work come from to give back to the veteran community and really, help the veteran community excel?
Dr. Soto, are you with us?
He froze.
You guys.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you now.
I don't know. So, and I made some horrible transition, right? And after 26 years in the Navy, I didn't know what I thought I and transition workshop. And I made some horrible mistakes, and I don't want those folks that are transitioning right now mistakes that I made. I want them to be able to expand, right, and explore what is truly out there for them as they transition. Whatever you want to do, there is an organization for you to help you do it. And make transitioning service members and veterans and by giving them as much information as I can, then that's the way I do it.
So as far as your training goes, right, and what you're helping the job seekers with, right, in their transition as they're getting out of the service and moving into the civilian sector, what are some of the pain points that you're seeing them deal with? What are the biggest pain points that you're seeing them deal with?
I think too many questions, right? Like they're so afraid to make themselves vulnerable, right? And we talk about vulnerability and saying, hey, I don't know. And that's what I think that has maybe like increased some of my knowledge, is that I'm okay with being vulnerable. I'm okay with saying, hey, I don't know. Transitioning service members have to make themselves more vulnerable to sponge and soak up all the information that's out there.
I think that's an amazing point. To me, networking it's kind of like dating. You know, you're getting out there, you're making yourself a little vulnerable. But the thing that I think a lot of people just don't grasp is the worst thing that can happen is someone says no to a connection. You know, you're making yourself a little vulnerable, but there is you're not going to get arrested. You're not going to get reported to, the LinkedIn police or anything like that. You're just trying to make a connection to learn some information, and you have to be willing to throw yourself out there. I think that's a great point that you talk about, is you got to make yourself vulnerable. And I think that ties into the leadership aspect too, because as leaders, we make a lot more ground with our soldiers or sailors if we're a little bit vulnerable. We tell them about our struggles, what we've gone through in life. And that's what I love about what you're doing and what some of our other guests have done, taking their experiences, maybe their failures, and turning them into positives to help people.
Yeah, I think we're still having some audio issues, Dr. Soto. But yeah, so Dr. Soto was talking about being vulnerable, right? And that's, maybe one of the biggest pain points that people have. We're having some issues with Dr. Soto's feed, so
we're having a lot of trouble with restream.
Well, it looks like it's maybe a bandwidth issue, so out there. So definitely, hopefully, he wasn't part of that Eastern Seaboard internet debacle last night. So here we go. Let's see if we got him back in. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Dr. Soto. Can you hear us?
How you doing?
There we go.
Can you guys hear me better?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you better. Oh.
Right. You guys hear me?
We can hear you, but you keep freezing up, it looks like.
Yeah, do you want to... maybe if you stop your video, we can do this audio. That might help.
It's, you know, we get it. Unless you're on rejoining the military again and doing this over, you got to get this transition piece right. And have to be willing to be afraid.
I think we lost them again.
Yeah, I think we might have lost him again. All right. Well, let's press on. So Dr. Soto has been talking about vulnerability, right? And being able to not only expose your weaknesses, right? Because that's the first step, but of many. So it's not just exposing your weaknesses, it's being able to capitalize. And there's the old adage out there, right? Maximize your strengths, minimize your weaknesses.
Yeah.
So a lot of people they take that to the 10th degree, where that's all they focus on is their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that that's what that adage means, right? Maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weakness, that tells me that if you're maximizing your strengths at the same time, you are cognizant of and working on your weaknesses, because if you're trying to minimize those, right, you're still working on them.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you're completely ignoring them.
Yeah, I think you need to, it's continuously trying to improve yourself. So you definitely want to be working on your weaknesses as whatever they may be. But I think you also need to include in there that you need to learn from your weaknesses and or your failures. So there's been struggles through my life that I have directly been able to connect with soldiers over. So putting myself in a position as a first sergeant or just a senior NCO, being able to talk to my soldiers about anger management issues that I've had and how I've gone to anger management has enabled me to develop that rapport and that relationship with the soldiers and truly lead them to where they need the help, especially because we still have that stigma, right, in the military. There's been a lot of work done to kill it, but that stigma still exists. A lot of people still think that your career is going to be over. You're going to lose your security clearance. All these things are going to happen. And granted, in extreme cases, maybe, but we're talking extreme cases. But to just make yourself better mentally, you need to go get the help you need, and that ties into some of the things our other guests have been passionate about with like the veteran suicide.
Mm-hmm.
People reach out and get that help they need. So back to what you're originally asking, though, is I agree with you. I don't think that's what the adage means. I think you continue to utilize your strengths, but you work on your weaknesses. You make them better and you bring them up to par, and then also learn along the way as you go. And I think you'll be much better for it.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because look, is people are tracking, right? And they're deciding whether or not that they want to reach out for help. And also tying in that statement that Dr. Soto made about being vulnerable. I mean, when you're in the military, right, and you're a service member, your individuality, for the most part, right,
Yep,
is minimized. And so that trains us, right, as veterans, then as active duty and veterans, right, that individuality is not as valuable necessarily.
very true.
And look, I'm talking broad generalities, right?
Right.
Certainly not throughout the military. That's not the case. But in general, that's kind of the mantra, is that we're building a cohesive unit. And I know that we've tried to change that, right? Commercials, Army of One, right? Things like that. But
a lot of debate on that one.
that's right. But if you think about it, if you're not asking for help and you're in a mental space where you feel like you, in some kind of way, shape, or form, that you have to be this robot, right? This clone. What is that doing as you transition out of the military? How is it restricting you if you're transitioning to the civilian sector and you feel like that is not valued? It totally dehumanizes, and that's what we were talking about with Bomb. But you have to put that human back in human resources, right? You got to make sure that your individuality is expressed, and so by being vulnerable, and I'm going to bring this full circle here, by being vulnerable, it's allowing you to craft your story to be able to convey it, right? And have the recipient be able to engage and acknowledge that, yes, you are human, right? So I think that's super important. It's a great point that you brought up.
Yeah, and what's funny is one of the best things about our military is our commanders and leaders have the freedom to make decisions. They have the freedom to make a decision on the battlefield in the heat of battle. They don't, for the most part, have to, call and wait for orders to come down from higher in the middle of something. But that doesn't translate to us transitioning, in our individuality, because outside of making those decisions in the heat of the moment at times, or taking appropriate action in the absence of orders, as we do with the NCO Corps, there is a big everybody's the same type of thing going on with the military, putting us all in everybody looks the same, does the same, is the same. And there's a guest I want to bring on here, hopefully in the very near future. I just did a seminar through the Leader Transition Institute, Changing Focus from We to Me. Was fantastic. It gets you in that mindset of really looking at yourself and how you prepare yourself for transition to get out of the military. So I'd love to bring them on here and have them talk about their program, because I think that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here. Because when you join the Army or the military in general, you are broken down and then built back up in the image that they want to see. And you do however long your tenure is in the military. And then as you transition out, the military is always a part of you, but you still have to go back to find who you are. And you have to bring yourself forward. Now, maybe you are military through and through. Maybe that's who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as you leave, what skills from that are you going to use moving forward? So I think that there's a lot that goes into especially the transition piece. I mean, I like the line from Stripes where Bill Murray said we were all dumb enough to enlist in the Army. There's something really wrong with us. And there kind of is something wrong with us. We're all of a different mentality. We do a great thing serving our country, but now it's time to focus again on us.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think, look, my transition, again, I was going back to school, right? So when I got out, I went back to school. So the transition wasn't really the same for me as it was for, let's say, for you, right? You've already done your school. You're getting ready to transition out to full-time permanent civilian sector. So my journey's been a little bit different, but what I have gleaned from my time in transition is that there are so many people in viewer audience. This is you, right? There are so many of you out there that you're getting these resources thrown at you, but you're getting overwhelmed. And even through this venue, right, through the Vet S.O.S show, we're going to be bringing a ton of content to you.
Yep.
But again, when we talk about not drowning in the sea of transition, you got to be able to discern what you're going to actually take and put into play.
There's
right?
over 40,000 organizations out there, Mark. Over 40,000 helping veterans. It's easy to drown in the transition sea.
Yeah.
And Dr. Soto was talking to it. I know Alfredo's going to talk to it. You have to find those resources that fit you and what you want to do. And that's really the hard part. And hopefully through this show, we're going to be able to highlight different organizations, and people are going to be able to find the fit that is right for them, because there is something out there for absolutely everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And I see, give a couple shout outs as we're getting ready to go into our next guest, but who do we got in the comments? Who we got in the chat?
Got a couple of people pairing and streaming this show. We got Jane, who will be our final guest today. She's pairing. And we also got Aisha out there pairing, looking to pivot careers. So some great stuff right there.
Yeah, I see Caddy Espinoza. Thank you, Caddy, for joining us. Guys, this is what this is all about. It's about community, right? And so hit us up in this chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what you do, right? So if you are a resource to veterans, let us know in the chat. Type in there. Let us know what resources you have available, what organizations that you're working with. If you are, again, a service member, veteran, military family member, and you're in transition or you're getting ready to transition, also let us know what you're looking for. Type in the chat, and we'll see if we can get you plugged in.
That's what's great about this community, though, is everybody wants to help. If you are, especially if you're transitioning, if you're looking for guidance and help, you just have to start attending events, going to things like the Vets to Industry, the 50 Strong. You will find resources. Going to the USO and getting in the Pathfinder program. They're going to point you in very specific directions based on what you want to do. And then you have each state has their own tools out there for veterans. So the opportunities are endless. And it really, like when I started with, okay, there's 100 different things I'm qualified to do, between education, training, work experience, whatever. There are, easily 100 things. So it's taken me a year to basically get down to the 3 things I want to focus on. And one of those 3 things will be the next career. One's probably going to be like a side hustle. And then, the other one I probably won't do. So I got 2 viable career options, in my opinion, that I would like to go into, and I think I'd be happy with. But it's taken me a year to get there. And that's where I think veterans have to be patient, and they have to start early. You may know exactly what you want to do the rest of your life, which is great. I wish I had been one of those people, but I'm not. I no idea what I want to do. I didn't even plan on joining the military, but it happened, and I love the fact that I did it. And you got Matt chiming in here talking about trying to convince me to move to Texas. The boss had the final vote. We are moving to Florida, so. Big fan of San Antonio, Texas. What a great place to live. But we're going back home to Florida, and we're going to continue to be. Hopefully, you don't see me on the news as the Florida man. So
yes, we're gonna miss having you. I know when we first started talking and we first started putting the show together, Sean, you were almost on your way over to San Antonio. And that changed pretty quickly, but I know, you've got family and all that out there. So,
yep.
And your support network's already out there. So speaking of which, right, support network, in the career transition space, as you're going through this, right, a lot of those networking groups are strategic and tactical. They do provide some support, but that's what I would also recommend, right? Find a community, a career transition group that actually does support and uplift you, right? They have ongoing events and activities that are going to, maybe it's on a weekly basis, but find a, if you want to call it a study group, right? That you can plug in with, and that you're all like-minded and you're able to help lift each other up and hold each other accountable, right? That's really what you need, is accountability as well.
Absolutely. And let's go back to episodes 2 and 3 with Don and Matt and the Military Transition Roundtable. The mastermind setup that they have, we have some amazing conversations in the cohort I'm involved in. We sit there and really talk about just about anything. But normally through our discussions, there is a key issue that comes up, and we get deep into it. And we have accountability at the end, things that we're going to be accountable for between the 2 weeks between meetings, and we come back and they call us out on it. Did you do this? So great group of people in my cohort. We've all connected through LinkedIn, and we're constantly passing things back and forth. So they're looking to pay it forward as well. So I think finding groups like that is very important. Get in there where people you fit in, and we're all different ranks. We're all different, military background,
non-commissioned, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and different
All in it
services.
together.
So, and there's jokes. People want to talk about my Tennessee Volunteer shirt last week. It's all good.
What's this Tennessee Volunteer shirt?
Yeah, I've been a fan since I was 16, and I've gone through the last 15 years of misery. So, I'm resilient. Let's put it that way. I am resilient, and I'm looking forward to Tennessee football getting back on the map. Tennessee baseball is doing some great things. So we're coming back, and all I got to say is the Gators better start watching out. We're coming back. We're ready to start taking the East back.
Yeah. Well, and that's also, I think, a great point. And as we're getting ready to bring in Alfredo here in the next couple minutes, he had talked about his network, right? And he had talked about, because we've had a conversation with him already, he talked about the willingness to be able to open up his network, make introductions, things like that. In your network, right? And, we'll take Tennessee out of it, but in your network, when we talk about leveraging that, how are some of the ways that you're seeing people leverage that? How are you leveraging that?
So I've gotten to the point where I can actually start making some connections, which is pretty cool to be in, because I'm still going through the process. I'm still learning, but now I'll see things pop up, whether it's just a generic post, maybe someone I'm not connected with, or maybe it is someone I'm connected with where they're asking for something specific, and I can connect them with somebody who might be able to help or point them in a specific direction to possibly get help. And to me, that's an awesome feeling to just have the knowledge. And I know my level of knowledge in this space is, that big. There's still so much out there to learn, but I've already met a lot of great people and, in my opinion, key people in this space. So being able to pass that knowledge on and continue to pay it forward, to help other people. I think that's a big deal. And these guests that we're bringing on, they all feel the same way. It's all about helping people and giving back and helping them be successful in their transition.
Yeah, it's vital. You have to pay it forward, right? Or else the network stops.
Yep.
And so, there's so many people who have come through the career transition space, and I see this all the time, right? And we get ghosted. They come through, they get what they need, and then they ghost the network, right? So I would also caution you, or maybe the better positive spin on it, I would encourage you to stay networking. And these practices and strategic things and tactical things that you're learning about networking as you're in your transition, don't stop when you get landed to your next position. Because the odds are, number one, that might not be your forever home. That might not be your next 20-year career, right? 30-year career, whatever that is. You may be, and statistically speaking, we know you may be back in transition looking for another job in the next few years. Could be. So we see that all the time, and I would encourage you not to fall into that pitfall of, I got landed, I don't need to network anymore. Continue networking, continue building those relationships, so you can leverage that and rely on your friends, your network, when that new need comes.
You just dropped a nuclear bomb. All right, that is so big, because how do you look if you only come out when you need something? You do all this work to network, all this work building a network, and then you all of a sudden disappear because you finally got your job, and then 2 years later you come back, and everybody's like, "Oh, where you been?" So maybe people are going to help you. Maybe people are like, "You know what? You forgot about us. We're not going to help you." It could go either way. And I never understood, why would you put so much effort into building a network to just walk away? That doesn't make any sense to me. Where, Do you have to be as active? Maybe not. Maybe you slow down your activity a little bit, and figure out the right times to do it. But don't just disappear. Stay in there and continue to help other people and give back what little you can. So,
yep, it's all in the pay it forward theme. The nature of this network. That's what we're driving for. Look, Sean, you and I, this is volunteer work.
Yep.
We're doing this because we're passionate about it. We're passionate about helping people. And so if we're pouring ourselves, and there's probably, I know there's plenty of people out there pouring themselves out into your lives.
Yep, absolutely.
Pay it forward. Make sure that you're pouring out into others. All right. So we're here getting at the top of the hour. Let's cut to our commercial break and segment in our transition, because we've got Alfredo Torres up next, and super excited to hear more from Alfredo Torres, Dr. Soto. We will get back with, and we'll have him on again. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. He's so inspirational. So we'll definitely need to. And don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab that S.O.S. life preserver.
That's right. All right, we are back. Thank you for joining in to the Vet SOS show. It's brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab your Vet SOS life preserver and make sure that you're getting the help that you require. So we are back. Dr. Alfredo Torres is here. I want to give you an introduction to Dr. Torres.
I'm not a doctor.
Oh, not doctor. Sorry, I've got Dr. Soto. Got Dr. Soto on my mind. Mr. Alfredo Torres. Mr. Alfredo Torres, he's the Virginia V3 Transitional Regional Coordinator for the Central and Western Region and the Candidate Coordinator for Hire Vets Now Fellowship Program. It's the first DoD-approved state skill bridge program, by the way. He's experienced in professional military and educational career coaching, mentoring, and counseling, and a 13-year Navy veteran who's had a very eclectic and varied post-military career. He's been a radio personality, EMT, academic advisor, safety inspector, blogger, military admissions advisor. Oh my goodness, there's so many more on this list. I can't even rattle them all off here in the amount of time that we have. So thank you, our esteemed guest, Mr. Alfredo Torres. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I have to switch to my phone because the computer is a piece of garbage. And so, you had the wonderful Dr. Soto on, incredible person. I would reach back out to him, tell him to use his phone.
And I know we've had you on before, and I think that was the key to the other success that we had. So great to have you join in with us, and great to hear you and see you this time. So
yes, exactly.
Let's jump in. So in the work that you're doing, you've done so much, right? And you're giving back. You are paying it forward, right? And so you're a walking testimony to what this show is about. What got you started? Why are you doing this? Why are you so passionate about helping and giving back in this way?
I had the worst transition in the world. I know Dr. Soto said he had. No, it was me. It was me. And we can go back and forth. At least he got a retirement. I was medically booted, and so I, after 13 years, and I always break it down to one thing. Now, mind you, I got out in 2005. Okay, and we didn't have all the stuff that that you guys have today. But it came down to me to being arrogant. Everything, and I just did a post on LinkedIn about this not too long ago. It's arrogance, the arrogance of I'm a veteran, so everybody's gonna kiss my behind to give me a job, and they're all lined up outside the door, and you know, everyone's gonna pat me on the back, and oh, you're great, you're on here. And then after that, after I realized that wasn't the truth, then the arrogance and the pride to go seek help, deal with my mental issues, to deal with the fact that now I was homeless, you know, um to say I'm too proud to work at McDonald's. What do you mean I'm going to work at McDonald's? Are you kidding me? I defended this country. I stormed the beaches of Normandy. Damn it, you know. No, man. Again, it's arrogance. It's pride. That's what it all comes down to.
Well, let's ask a question there, because you know that's one thing that came up in part in our last episode, which is the mental health side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just with Dr. Soto, right, talking about being vulnerable, and how that might shift somebody's view, right, of themselves. Sure. And so not only the outward view that people may see them as, but their internal view. So, right, your id and your ego. So, tell us more, like, what challenges did you go through during your transition? I mean, psychologically, mental health wise. I mean, you had a pretty difficult transition. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. And Sean, I'm going to use you as a kind of as a mirror, because you're still active duty. Okay. And Sean, you tell me if as I say this, you tell me if this rings true today. Okay. First thing is, it starts with being in the military and getting into this, being taught, you're going to do 20, you're going to get your MBA or your PMP or both. You're going to get the contractor job in the GS-13, and they're going to love you as soon as you get out. Right? So that's the mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in my case, Sean's going to retire, but in my case, I got medically booted and found out that my mind wasn't ready for that not to happen. Okay. Sean's lucky that he started early, again, because of my medical stuff. It came out of nowhere. Not that I would have started early anyway, because it was a different mindset back then. But now comes all the other things that add on to that sudden, oh my God, nobody's there. It's and there's different layers, right? So it's first off, I'm a service member. I'm a veteran. So I got to show strength, because people outside have the certain image, right? Mm-hmm. Let's add on to that I'm an NCO. Now, you can be a senior NCO or an officer, doesn't matter. You're a leader. And so you can't show weakness, because you got people underneath you who are looking to you for strength and inspiration. So when things are sucking, you got to keep it down. Now, let's add to that. In my case, I come from a background, a different ethnic background, which teaches you at an early age that you're a man. You don't complain, you don't cry, you just do things. So you add all that, right, and you take away some of the most important things like communication. And it's a setup. It's a setup, because you can only put so much into you and not let it out before it all blows up. And Sean, let me ask you this question. I don't know how I know you started early, but I don't know how much you're communicating. Do you find that helps you as you're going through this transition? People reassuring you, being able to talk to your peers and realize that they're going through the same thing, so that you don't feel alone? Is that something that you do?
Oh, definitely. I think, talking with people like mentors like yourself, Veterati is a huge tool, reaching out to those people who have been there, have done it, reaching out to them and having those calls using programs like ACP and Commit Foundation, where you have a assigned mentor. Just had a great conversation yesterday with my Commit mentor, reassuring me, hey, you're doing this right, you're doing that right. Hey, let's take a look at this. Maybe we change some things here. And then one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved in doing this show was the peer conversations. So many of my peers still have no idea what they're doing, no idea what's going on. And, you start talking, hey, have you gone to Best Industry? What's that? All right, dude, let's go look at the computer. You need to get into some of their networking events. You got 50 strong, get into their networking events. Have you been to the USO to talk to the Pathfinder program? And between my peers and then just my soldiers, I got some young captains that are getting out. They're done. They don't want to continue. Even they don't have a clue. So you start talking to them about these things. And I think that's a responsibility of every leader. We need to share that information. So, that's what's great about this community is we got people who have long since transitioned that are still coming out here and telling us. So, I mean, people like you doing great things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But think about all that, what you just said. Now take it 17 years ago when I got out, none of that existed. Plus the culture is changing. Okay. I'm not a touchy-feely guy, believe it or not. But by the same token, the culture has made it okay to say that, you're vulnerable, to say that you're scared, to say that you're stressed out, to say you don't know the answer, and to admit it. And this is a big shift.
Yes.
In how you transition. And as far as what's out there, I don't blame people for not knowing what's out there. Look, you guys talked about Boom Boom. I never heard of it. I never heard of it before 45 minutes ago. Okay. And then the way you utilize it, right? The way to say thank you, the way to connect with an employer, the way to remind the employer of your name and your face.
Right.
Like, hey, oh yeah, I remember him. And how you can look again, another way for you to show your passion, show your personality, which might be difficult to show on a piece of paper. So I never heard of it. And now, as soon as you guys mentioned it, 35 different thousand ways of how to utilize it were running through my head. Thank you. More stuff I got to figure out so I can, give to people. But the point is that there's so much out there, and there's so much out there that is constantly changing. It's hard for a guy like Sean who's transitioning to know it all. Well, so how can he pass it on to someone else?
Right. So where do you start? Right. In your coaching folks, right, and helping people through V3, where do you tell them to start? Maybe can you walk us through like that process that you help someone with?
Sure. And again, I'll take Sean as the example, and I'm not picking on you. Just to let you know that if Mark was transitioning, I'd be on him too. Okay. But so the first thing I'd say is so what do you want? That would literally be the first thing, because it starts with there. I can't. What good is any advice I'm going to give you if I don't know what you want? If I don't know where you want to go to, right? Now, normally, a guy like Sean, in Sean's position, without the foresight to have started early, would say, "I don't know." Okay. At that point, now we start to dig a little bit, right? Well, what do you like? What don't you like? And everything is geared to trying to take it from that 180,000 foot view to the block, to the house, not even the neighborhood or the city, but to the house. So, uh, where do you want to live? What do you see? Give me your perfect scenario. Tell me what your perfect life is.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we get that kind of thing going, now we start to see, okay, what steps can we utilize? Who can we connect you to? And then there's a lot of other things bonus. But this is, if you do a minimum, you got to talk to these people. You got to look up this instruction. You got to find out about this program. Because everything that's out there is great, and everything that's out there sucks. It all depends on whether you can utilize it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sean has heard it. I don't know if you've heard it, Mark. The my buffet analogy.
Mm-mm. I don't think.
No.
I think I'm not sure we talked about that last time.
Okay, so here's what transition is. Transition is a buffet. Now, of course, I'm a fat guy, so I love to eat. So of course I'm going to tie it into food. But transition is a buffet. You walk into a buffet and you see all of this incredible food, and it all looks good. But you're not going to eat all of it, are you? No. You're going to go and you're going to pick some protein, and you're going to pick some starches and some vegetables, and you're going to mix and match. Maybe you have macaroni and cheese with fried rice. Who the hell does that? But that's what you want, right? That's what you want. Maybe you have pork chop with custard. Disgusting to me, but maybe that's what you want. Then you sit down and you eat. And if you're full, success. And if it's garbage, disgusting. You go and you try something else. And if you're not full, maybe you go back and maybe what it needed was a little more custard or some corn or whatever. The point is, there's so much out there. You guys talk about drowning in the sea of goodwill, that's exactly how I describe it. You don't have to listen to everything I say, or listen to everything that Dr. Soto says, or the Pathfinders, or you don't have to. You can pick and choose a little bit of Alfredo, a little bit of Dr. Soto, a little bit of Pathfinders, a little bit of Vets the Industry, and make your own plate. And that's, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you see that my first hashtag, own your transition. And that's what owning your transition is. It's making your plate. When I talk to people, I tell them there's 3 things that you can do with my advice. You can say, oh my God, Alfredo's the greatest, smartest guy in the world. I'm going to listen to everything he says. I wouldn't do that. You could say, wow, Alfredo's full of crap. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The hell with him. I'm not listening to anything. Or number 3, which is what I always recommend, is listen and say, you know what, Alfredo made some good points, but point 1, 4, 5, and 8 really resonated to what I'm going through. That's what I'm going to take, and I'm going to add that to my transition toolbox. And now I'm going to go and talk to Mark. Okay, Mark, blah, 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 blah. Same thing. Mark gave me, 10 things. Number 2, number 7, and number 3 really resonated to my transition. Now I'm going to put it over here to my transition box. See what I'm saying? This is making your plate. This is the buffet.
Talk about dropping bombs. So you have just said a ton, right?
That's right. Talk a lot.
No, no. I'm saying, of value. You just said a ton of value. So yes, absolutely. You're taking your pieces and you're crafting your own transition. I love that transition toolbox, right? Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's skill set is different. So you have to craft that's unique to you. But also, I think at the very beginning of your analogy, right, the thought popped into my head that, look, guys, even if you have your specialty, your AFSC, your MOS, whatever you want to call it, your skill set, your training in the military, even if you are still looking to use that in the civilian sector, if it's a transferable skill, the world is wide open. When you're being asked, what do you want? right? And Alfredo's coaching you, or you're getting coached in that way, and you don't know. And that answer is, which I would imagine Alfredo is the answer. Often no, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's
got no
probably
idea.
that's probably the majority of the time. So that's not necessarily a negative, right? That you don't know what you want to do. That's an extreme positive in the fact that you get to create your new environment.
You
But
know,
if you don't have direction, if you don't have help getting that direction, and that's what you're there for, right, Alfredo?
right. It's just like getting out of high school. You're getting out of the military. The whole world is your oyster. The difference between high school and getting out of the military is you've been around the world a couple of times. You've had some experiences. So now you need to utilize it. And as far as trying to figure it out, well, uh, let me ask you, Mark. You were in the military. What were you?
I was an airman.
Okay.
I left as a senior airman.
Okay, as a senior airman.
And I was a medic in the Air
Okay.
Force.
Right. So you were a medic and a senior airman. As a senior airman, that's a what?
E4?
E4. Okay, so no, you were still probably hands-on. Sean, what are you now?
E8.
You're an E8, and what are you?
Army Intel Analyst.
Intel analyst. Here's a better example. So Intel analyst. When's the last time that you analyzed Intel?
About 10 years ago.
Okay, so you're still identifying yourself as an Intel analyst. So if I would say, Sean, what are you? You're gonna go Intel analyst. I'm gonna say you're a liar. That's the first thing I say. I say, no, you're not. You haven't analyzed any Intel in 10, 12 years.
Nope.
So now, a lot of times they go, wow, and this is a problem in the military. You identify yourself as what your MOS rating, whatever you want to call it, rank, some people will do. And so again, you got the blinders on. So everything you're thinking about deals with Intel analysts because that's what you identify as. Now, Mark, how long have you been out?
I've been out going on 25 years.
So you see how when I was talking to Mark, he didn't identify as the medic. And now, granted, you didn't know where I was going, so you started with the rank and stuff, but you didn't identify as a medic. And actually, you had more reason to identify as a medic because you were still doing medic stuff. Now, here's where that's significant. Sean identifies as an Intel analyst. Hasn't done it in 10 years. Well, what do you want to do when you get out? I don't know. Well, what are you? I'm an Intel analyst. Well, you want to do that? No. What have you done over the last 10 years? You've led programs, right? You've had, in the Navy, we call them collateral duties. I think you guys call them additional duties. You've had that. All of these things have given you new skill sets, which now you got to take away this, I'm an Intel analyst, and you got to look at what skill sets you've done. You've got to open that aperture. Okay. I started as a submarine yeoman in the Navy, which is a glorified secretary, and then I became a aviation storekeeper, which is doing logistics for the aviation side. Did that for total of 13 years. When I got out, I identified as an aviation storekeeper. So what was I supposed to do when I get out? Get a logistics job, right? Because that's what I did. I didn't want to do that. So after piddling around, homeless and all the rest of that stuff, when the post 9/11 GI Bill came back, I went back to school. And being a career coach and a career counselor and a mentor really resonated with me because people tell me I have an incredible story.
Yes, you do. Yes,
yeah,
you do.
yeah. Well, that and $4.99 will get me a cup of coffee over at a Starbucks. But the thing is, I started to realize how you know what? So I've got the skills to do this, but where the hell did these skills come from? They came from 13 years of a collateral duty in the Navy called career counselor. They came from 9 years of being a shipboard instructor, of being in the Navy, we call them a training petty officer, where I had to sit there and do lesson plans and make them relatable. So I refined all these skills in the Navy, but I never thought about them because I identified as an aviation storekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you gotta get away from identifying as an aviation storekeeper, from identifying as a master chief or a sergeant major or a captain or a lieutenant, or you got to get away from that and realize, okay, what have I done? Not what do you do, not what are you, but what have you done? Because this is what's going to allow you to again open the aperture, and it's going to allow you to start pulling out these skills that you didn't think you had.
So let me ask you a question along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship prep right now for the cohort in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Several of these companies use automated websites where you put in your MOS. You know, so you got me thinking there, where because my only option is 35 Fox Intel analyst. So then it kicks out all these jobs.
Is it?
Well,
I want you to think about your additional duties. What have you done? And all of those have a MOS or what we call them NEC, Navy, whatever classification. I don't know. Geez, I've been out for a decade and a half. But you put in that MOS, and you got to understand that, again, those jobs are going to pop out for something you haven't done in 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that something that you want to do?
No.
Well, then why are you putting in that MOS?
So I've looked. Honestly, I looked down the whole list. You know, and some of the websites use the very specific MOS
Sure.
only, and there's none of those additional duties that fall in there. And
right.
As an Intel guy, a lot of mine are security related. You know,
sure,
so
of course, because they want that security clearance that you got.
Yeah, and if it says security, it has to be the Intel guy's job. You know, so
sure.
But it strikes me as odd because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I haven't done it in 10 years. I don't want to do it. It was only, to me, I only enjoyed it while I was deployed, where you're making a real difference.
Sure.
But I would like to switch gears real quick for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have a busy day. You came on here with me today, and then this afternoon you got the next Vets to Industry networking event, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to make. I'm prepping for summer camp tomorrow morning with the Boy Scouts. Sorry, I'm going to miss it. But tell us a little bit about Vets to Industry.
So Vets to Industry is a nonprofit organization that is there to provide a listing of resources to help you out. One of the main things that they do, which is incredible, is they host a networking event in which they invite transitioning service members, veterans, military spouses, resource providers, recruiters, educational representatives to come together, and they will all get a chance to speak. And then you go into these rooms to network and to start talking to each other, practice your elevator pitch. It's a 5-hour event that goes by like 45 minutes. It flies by, and the connections that you make are so valuable. But like I heard you guys say earlier, they're only valuable if you do the following. You've got to make yourself a human. Okay? Networking is not, it's not about just connecting. It's about building a relationship. Okay? It's about making Sean about taking him from a Intel analyst in the Army to Sean, who likes Tennessee, who's moving to Florida. Ooh, should be moving to Virginia. No, Florida's a great place. But you see what I'm saying? I've taken him from generic to Johnny Soldier to Sean. I've made him a person who I now can relate to, who I now have a relationship with, who I am more likely to help than Intel analyst, generic soldier, okay, who didn't take any time. So that's what networking is. People make it to be this big to do that's scary. It's not, man. It's meeting people and talking to them. We do that every day. We do everywhere from the supermarket, obviously in bars and clubs, to the library. Wherever we go, we're talking to people, and the people we like, we continue to talk to.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the scariest thing about vets industry is that 5 hour number there. And I'll tell you from experience, it goes so fast because I know I skipped the very first one I registered for, going, man, I don't have 5 hours to give. And then I made the next one. I was like, why did I miss the last one? This is amazing. It goes by so fast. And one of the reasons why I'm volunteering with them now, it's just an amazing organization. So yeah, I'm part of the research team, trying to, because I like doing the research and finding other organizations and sharing the information. So to me, it's a way to give back because there's 40,000 organizations. I don't need to go start one, just give back to some of the other ones.
Hallelujah that you said that, because people are, I want to start a nonprofit. I want to start a nonprofit. Well, you know how hard it is to start a nonprofit? Better to take your talents and your passion and go to an existing one. If you don't like the big ones, find a small one. There's plenty of small ones who could use the help. Okay, Vets to Industry is one of them, with 70,000 people, followers. It's still a small organization. But yeah, it flies by. I did the same thing. The first time someone invited me, I'm like, oh God, 5 hours, Jesus Christ, here we go. And I'm sitting there, and look, I don't ever want to do anything. Like the lead up, I hate. Being there, I love. So like even this, I didn't want to do this. I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm obligated, because I don't like to obligate myself, right? I don't know how I'm gonna feel when I get up, and so the lead up I hate. But then it starts, and then the energy and the encouragement, and the opportunities, and you just see all of this. And then when you get into the little breakout rooms that they have, and you start to realize I'm not alone. Here's this EA in the Army who's getting ready to transition out, and here I am, the E4 in the Air Force, and we're both feeling the same thing. Yep. And here's this major from the Marine Corps, and all of us are feeling the same thing. And that's where, that's part of the magic happening. Yeah. Is because once you realize you're not alone, now you got people you can talk to.
Absolutely.
And once you start 1, talking, bam.
Yeah, 1,000%. I know we're getting down to time here, and Alfredo, man, just so many bombs you're dropping along the way here. Just nuggets of knowledge.
Scorched earth, brother. Scorched earth, man.
Man. Let me tell you. I know that. Look, I can talk to you forever and listen to you talk forever because you're so impactful in the way that you're just sharing these golden nuggets. So, but at any rate, I do want to make sure that we highlight. So you're with V3, right? Virginia Transition Region Coordinator.
Okay, let me straighten that out.
Yeah,
I'm with the Virginia Department of Veteran Services. V3, Virginia Values Veterans, is a program that helps companies become certified as veteran friendly. I'm in V3 transition.
Right.
Okay. I help the service members and can connect them to the V3 certified companies.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about that in closing, right? Because that's huge. That is huge. As people are coming through, right, the program, and this is all about the who you know, right? Because it is about who you know. So, and you've talked about this before, and I think that was one of your closing statements. So, as listeners are hearing your message, as they've heard your story, if they want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. All right.
LinkedIn. I
We've
am
got that up
always
right here.
I am always on LinkedIn. I always check it. That's probably the quickest way to get a hold of me. I'm still going. I was on vacation last week because I moved. I'm still going through my emails. I'm down to 26 out of like 235 that I actually had to pay attention to.
Right.
So you can reach me, email alfredo.torres@dvs.virginia.gov, and I'll get to it as quick as possible. But I check my LinkedIn every day,
Yes,
several times a day. So there's a better chance of you getting a hold of me there. And real quick, Sean, I let me just say this. I'm going to try not to, because I've been picking on you. So let me give you some advice, because you said you're going to be doing the interviews. All right. I'm going to give you my 4 P's, and I'll make it quick. 2 P's before the interview, 2 P's during the interview. The first 2 P's. Okay. Practice. Okay. And practice means everything, not just practice your answers, but also practice going to the sites, practice talking on the on screen, because you can see right now it doesn't appear like I'm looking at you. It's because I'm looking at my phone, right? But if I look at the camera, now it appears like I'm looking at you. Something simple like that, because now that I've made eye contact with you, you're going to pay attention more. So practice your answers so that they flow out. Number 2, practice if you're going to an in-person interview. Practice the route. Practice and find out if there's street parking or garage. If the street parking is metered or free. These are little things that are going to impact you. Okay. Second one is prepare. Prepare means find out about the job, find out about the company, find out about the person who might be interviewing you. Find out about the clothes that you need to wear. Okay, if you're looking at doing an industrial, if you're going to be interviewing an industrial site, you might not want to show up in a suit. So those are the 2: practice and prepare. And then the 2 during the interview. Okay, passion and positivity. Be passionate. Be passionate. And I don't mean be like, oh my God, I want this job. No, but be passionate about what you're doing, about what you're looking at. Okay. And then be positive. Don't naysay anything in your past. When they ask you the inevitable, so tell me about some hard thing that you disliked or whatever. We switch that up. Tell me about a bad leader that you had. Well, a challenging leader that I had encountered. You see, we take the negative and we turn it into a challenge. Now, what do we do with challenges? We overcome them. This affects your mind, it affects your face and how you react, and it affects your body language. Because as we think about challenges, right? What do? We overcome them. Now I'm proud. Now I'm happy. Well, if I stay with that, tell me the bad boss you had. Well, I had this one guy. He was loud. Your face starts to, you're starting to tense up because you're thinking about the negative. So be positive. And last but not least, which you seem to do, and I got to figure out a way to put this into a P, smile. A smile is the most important thing that you have. And I tell everybody, if it's the only thing you take away from talking to me, it's smile. Because a smile sets the tone. A smile says, hey, I'm approachable. A smile says, hey, this is going to be pleasant, right? If I got on and I had this face, does that make you want to talk to me?
I think you had that face last time.
Yeah, well, that was because of the connection and everything. But if you have that face, that means this is not going to be easy. But if you smile, okay, this is going to be okay. We're off to a great start. So that's for you, Sean.
I appreciate it. Great knowledge right there.
Yep, absolutely. Alfredo, thank you so much for coming back in and sharing more with us. Appreciate your time, appreciate your knowledge, your insight, your expertise, and your willingness to help.
Yes.
And pay it forward.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I'll never stop helping. And thank you guys for inviting me back after the last debacle. Because and thank you to my phone for allowing me to connect without the distractions like my stupid computer.
That's right.
So,
We're gonna get Dr. Soto back on his phone for sure too. So
yeah.
yes, guys, thank you. That's the show for this episode. Stay tuned. We have our next guest, Jane Babcock, coming up after this short break.
Thanks a lot, Alfredo.
Hey, no problem, man. Hopefully it was entertaining.
Yes.